Hey guys, it's Alyssa from AlyssaNalani.com. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my new space. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you know that my husband and I just recently moved from our travel trailer, which we had been in for a little over 2 years, and into a house. And while I have a lot to tell you about our move and why we made that decision and some of our plans for the future, I'm going to leave that for another time, and today I'm here to talk about books. I know this video is way long overdue. I actually wrote the blog post for this topic back at the end of February, and I'm just now getting to talk about it here on the channel. But better late than never, and I'm excited to share these books with you today. Alright, so just to explain here on the front end, the blog post, which is linked below, has a list of 35 titles that I want to read this year. My overall reading goal is to finish 50 books in 2019. So 35 titles leaves me with several slots to add titles as the year goes on. Of those 35 titles, I only own about 29, I think. And those are the titles that I'm going to be sharing with you today. That's a lot of books to get through, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. First book, super nerdy. It's a book for the book nerd, and it's called How to Read a Book, The Classic Guide to Intelligent Reading by Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. I heard about this book when I was in high school, and for some reason, the name Mortimer Adler just kind of tickled me, and it stayed in my head for years. And thought about it one day, bought myself a copy, and it's been sitting on my shelf for quite a long time. So this year I decided to kind of dust it off, put it on my reading list, and give it a try. The next book on my list is one of my favorites, and it is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I do say favorite because this will be my third or fourth time reading this book. And I come back to it primarily because I love the main character, Anne Elliot. She's so much the literary character that I wish I were more like. She just has so many great qualities. She's well-rounded. She's well-grounded. She's got a good head on her shoulders. And I want to be that kind of person. I don't think that this gets enough appreciation as it should. I think that Austen is very clever in this book. It's a very witty book. It starts out kind of slow. The first time I read it, I had to give it some time to do its thing, if you will. But once you get started and it gets going, it's just so good. It's such how do I describe it? It's just such a good read, and it's perfect for fall. So I won't be picking this up anytime soon. I will wait until fall to read it. It just lends itself to great fall reading. So if you are interested in reading Austen and you haven't before, if you are interested in reading more Austen, you haven't read this yet, I do highly recommend it. Give it a chance, give it its time, do let it kind of percolate and do its thing, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Book number 3 is another quite nerdy one. I picked it up when I was in college. It's called Speaking American, A History of English in the United States. I picked it up in college as resource material for one of my classes. Can't remember which class. Yeah, I don't remember which class. But anyway, I've had it since college, have not read the whole thing. It's not a very long book. It is rather academic, so I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through it, but I am still super interested in the subject, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Book number 4 is one that I've been interested in since it came out, and it's called Love That Lasts: How We Discovered God's Better Way for Love, Dating, Marriage, and Sex, and it's by Jefferson and Alyssa Bethke. If you don't know who they are, definitely check them out. I follow them on Instagram, and they're super, super sweet people to follow. They do have a podcast on life and marriage and parenting that would be worth checking out as well. Don't know much about the book except what it says in the subtitle, but I'm really looking forward to it. The next book is one that I've been meaning to read since it came out. It is Reading People by Anne Bogle, How Seeing the World Through the Lens of Personality Changes Everything. I love books about books. I love reading about personality, so this is right up my alley. If you have not heard of Anne Bogle and you're a book person, oh my goodness, where have you been? She's a blogger at modernmrsdarcy.com, and she is a podcaster of 2 really great shows. First being What Should I Read Next, which is my absolute all-time favorite book podcast, and 2, her latest one, One Great Book. So definitely check both of those out wherever you listen to your podcasts. This book has been sitting on my shelf for way too long, and I'm really excited to finally get into it. The next book is Kind is the New Classy: The Power of Living Graciously by Candace Cameron Bure. I have not read any of her books yet, but I follow her on social media. I think she's such a great person, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she has to say in this book, which I believe is still her latest title. Okay, now we officially entered the realm of the books that I have started in the past, but have not finished. So from here on out, there are going to be several of those. Starting with this one, Cultivate, A Grace-Filled Guide to Growing an Intentional Life by Laura Casey. There's a bookmark in it from where I left off. And there's nothing wrong with the book. So far, I've enjoyed what I've read, but I'm very much a mood reader. So if it's not, just taking me in and sucking me in right away, or if I'm just not feeling the topic at the moment, it gets put down and replaced with something else. So have not gotten that far into it, but I am definitely looking forward to getting back into it and finally finishing it. I read her first book, Make It Happen, years ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. I love her platform. I love what she's doing. And so I'm really looking forward to finally getting through this book. Book number 7 is The Life-Giving Home, Creating a Place of Belonging and Becoming by Sally and Sarah Clarkson. Sally and Sarah Clarkson are a mother-daughter writing duo who both write books apart from each other. And I've read both of them apart from each other. Sally's book, Own Your Life, I think, I read a long time ago and enjoyed that. And just recently, I read Sarah Clarkson's latest book, Book Girl, which was also really enjoyable. Actually, I have it here behind me. Book Girl. It was really good. Her latest release. Definitely recommend that. The back of the book says, Secrets to Making Home the Place Your Family Longs to Be. And it's definitely something that I want to do in my life, and so I'm looking forward to reading all about it. Book number 8 is called Reading in the Brain, The New Science of How We Read by, I'm going to mess this up, Stanislas Dehaene, maybe? Yeah, this is another book that I picked up while I was in college. I was researching for my capstone project, which I did on reading in the brain. I didn't get to finish the book because there was so much information, but it does still have a couple of sticky notes. Again, I don't know how long this is going to take me. It is rather dense, but I'm really interested in the subject still, and so I'm really looking forward to getting back into this one. All right, we're going back into relationships and back into another book that I've started and not finished. So still have a bookmarker in this one, and it even has a couple of sticky tabs in here. This is Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, The Love She Most Deserves, The Respect He Desperately Needs. I started this book when I was actually engaged to be married and just never finished it. Next is another book that I picked up in college while researching my project on reading in the brain. This one's called The Dyslexic Advantage, Unlocking the Hidden Potential of the Dyslexic Brain. Used it for my paper, didn't get to read the whole thing, but I'm looking forward to taking a crack at it. All right, so I set myself up for it, but this is really starting to get embarrassing. This is another book that I started and have not completed. This one does not have a bookmark, however. It is Seth Godin's What to Do When It Is Your Turn, and it's always your turn. As you can see, it's kind of like a magazine format. It's got a lot of bright pictures and things, and it's graphically quite intriguing and interesting. So I love Seth Godin. I just like the way that he writes and how he talks and how his brain works and what he has to say. And so I really just need to sit down and finish this book. This could easily be one afternoon of reading if I would just sit my butt down and do it. Next is a book that's been on my TBR for quite some time, but I have not yet prioritized it, so I put it on my list for this year. It is Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This is actually on my Classics Club list, which is something that I write about on the blog. Basically, the Classics Club is an online book club where you make a list of 50 titles that you want to read in 5 years, and that's at least 50 titles in 5 years. And all the information is on the site. I have my Classics Club list on my blog. That link is also below if you want to check it out. And so this is an American classic. I don't know much about the story, but it's something that I've wanted to read for a while, so I'm looking forward to trying it out. See those sticky tabs? Yeah, this is another book that I have started and not yet completed. This is The Feminist Mistake, The Radical Impact of Feminism on Church and Culture by Mary Cassian. As you might imagine, this is dealing with some pretty controversial issues, but it's a subject that I'm very interested in and have been for a while. This book was published back in 2005. A lot has changed, but I'm pretty sure that the information is going to be just as pertinent and relevant. Next is a title that's super popular in writing circles. It is Bird by Bird, Some Instructions on Writing and Life by Anne Lamott. You will not be surprised to know that I started this a long time ago. And not only did I start it, I'm like 3/4 of the way through. So sit your behind down, Alyssa, and finish it. Next book in the lineup is Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. The subtitle is The Key to Peak Happiness, Thinking, and Health. I think I discovered her when I was doing a YouTube search on neuroplasticity, I think. She is a communication pathologist and audiologist who has worked in the area of cognitive neuroscience since 1985. Her pioneering work on neuroplasticity, that's why I found her, that changes in thinking actually change the brain and can affect behavioral change, paved the way for her current research on how scientific principles are supported by scripture and vice versa. So she is a Christian, which I so totally am thrilled by and am interested to read about in this book. Next book is by one of my favorite authors, and it is The Set Apart Woman, God's Invitation to Sacred Living by Leslie Ludy. I read so many of her books when I was single. She writes prolifically on Christ-centered femininity and inward beauty and purity and singleness, and a lot of her writing is what shaped me as a single woman and shaped my thinking on relationships and marriage and singleness while I was in that season. So if that's something you're interested in, or you know somebody who might be interested in that, I definitely highly recommend her work. Oh yeah, and see the tassel on the bookmark in here and the sticky tabs? Yeah, I don't even need to explain to you what that means. Okay, so we're getting back into some fiction with Marilla of Green Gables by Sarah McCoy. I'm really excited to read this because I'm a huge Green Gables fan, have been for years. We'll get back into that in a second. But this book just came out last year and I got myself a copy in the fall around Thanksgiving. So it's been kind of hanging out for a little bit, but I've heard some really good things about it, so I'm really excited to check it out. The next book is called The Measure of Success, Uncovering the Biblical Perspective on Women, Work, and the Home by Carolyn McCulley with Nora Shank. I'm familiar with this author because I read her book Radical Womanhood a long time ago. In fact, it's on my shelf over there, and I really liked it. And I'm really interested to see what she has to say in this book because it's an important conversation and people have all kinds of strong opinions on what the Bible says about women working and women being in the home. And it's a topic that interests me a lot. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what's inside. So I failed to mention before that we are going in alphabetical order by author's last name. So that's why we're just kind of hopping from genre to genre, fiction and nonfiction, just in case you were wondering. The next book on the list is actually a series of 8 books that I'm counting as one on my list because I've read all of them before. These are rereads that I put on my list just for the fun of it because every once in a while it's great to go back to a favorite. This is the Anne of Green Gables series by Lucy Maud Montgomery. If there was ever a story that was so much a part of my childhood in my growing up into adolescence and young adulthood and my love of literature, it's this one. I have loved Anne of Green Gables for a lot of years, and so every so often I like to go back and revisit the story. I was first introduced to Anne through the Kevin Sullivan movies from the 80s. I don't remember how old I was, and then I started reading the books afterwards, and I don't remember how old I was. I don't remember how long after the movies that I started reading the books. And because it's my video and I can do whatever I want, I'm going to go through the titles with you really quick. The first one is, of course, Anne of Green Gables. Book number 2 is called Anne of Avonlea. Book 3 is called Anne of the Island. Book 4 is Anne of Windy Poplars. Book 5 is Anne's House of Dreams. Book 6 is Anne of Ingleside. Book 7 is Rainbow Valley. And book 8 is Rilla of Ingleside. I do want to point something out just as a side note. While Anne of Green Gables, the title story, is considered children's literature, the rest of the series isn't necessarily so. Just for the simple fact that we grow up with Anne in the story. And so as she grows up, she's facing more mature situations, so on and so forth. The second book starts when she is 16 years old, and then the rest of the series goes into her going to college and becoming a teacher and getting married and having children and all of the rest. So that's just a point of interest that I thought I would bring up in case you were wanting to know. Moving right along to the next title, which is The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy Amartian. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. I read her book, The Power of a Praying Woman, a long time ago. So when I got married, I figured I needed to read this one as well. And it's super good so far. I'm actually in the middle of it right now. This is a book that I have started and I'm currently reading and I'm going to finish. The chapters are super short. It's an easy read, very practical, full of scripture and encouragement for women who are wanting to pray for their husbands. The next book is another title with a bookmark in it. You guessed it, I haven't finished it. This is The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles by Steven Pressfield. In the world of writing and content creation, this is considered a classic. And what I've read so far, I've really liked. I just have not gotten through the whole thing yet. Next up, we've got another book about books. This is On Reading Well, Finding the Good Life Through Great Books by Karen Swallow Pryor. This title came out last year, so it's fairly new. And I have flipped through it a little bit and it looks like it's going to be really good. Can't wait to start reading it. I'm really excited about this next book. It's called Call to Create, A Biblical Invitation to Create, Innovate, and Risk by Jordan Rayner. I don't know much about it, but what I've read on the back cover and what I flipped through and seen sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. Okay, we're going back to the classics with A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I don't know much about the story. I just know that it's a classic and it's been on my TBR for a long time. So I got myself a copy and I'm going to try it out this year. This next title is the chunker on the list. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Okay, so I kind of have this thing in my reading life where I'm trying to read the book before I watch the movie. It worked with Gone with the Wind. I read Gone with the Wind before I watched the movie. In fact, here, I'll show you right now. It's here on my shelf. This is Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind. See how thick that is? Okay, let's do a comparison. Oh my goodness. They're like the same thickness. You see that? Okay, see, I can't. So they're about the same. This has taller pages, but this has smaller print. So I really don't know what I'm in for. I don't know how long this is going to take me. I may not finish it in 2019. I don't know. But my only worry is that I knew lots about the Civil War when I read this book. I know very little about Russian history and Russian culture, so that's going to be a little bit of a hump for me. We'll see. The point of the matter is I really want to stick to my guns and read this before I see the movie. I've never seen any of the film adaptations, and I would like to try to keep it that way. I'm also trying to do the same thing with Les Mis. I haven't seen the latest movie or any of the older. Are there other film adaptations? Like multiple? I don't even know. But I want to read the book first. Yo, look at this. Look at this. This is my copy of Les Mis. I have tried. It's got sticky notes way in the beginning. But look how chunky this book is. And it's a French novel. Yeah, I need to get up on my foreign literature game. We've got 3 books left. Let's keep going. This is another book that I picked up in college while doing my research project. This is called Proust and the Squid, The Story and Science of the Reading Brain by Marianne Wolfe. This one has the most sticky notes because it was the most helpful when I was researching the subject. Now, I didn't get to read the whole thing, so I thought I'd take it off my shelf and give it a try this year. And because we're going in alphabetical order, I can segue into the next title, which is Reader Come Home, The Reading Brain in a Digital World by the same author. Because I was familiar with this book, when this one came out, I decided I had to get it because I wanted to see what she had to say about the reading brain in this digital age that we're living in. Last but not least, we are capping off this list with another classic, Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. I don't know much about it. They say it's a good book for writers, and I'm looking forward to crossing it off my list. All right, so that was the 29 books that are on my list of 35 books that I want to read this year. The link to the blog post where my full list is in the description, and you can check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and let me know if you've read any of these books, how you liked them, what you liked about them, and let me know if you have any recommendations based on my picks. That's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy reading. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.